I'm audible now, Prabhu. I'm audible.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, yes. Correction, Prabhuji.
Yes. First time I'm giving class from my native home.
Oh, that's true.
Very deep village in southern part of Tamil Nadu. Very deep village. Anyways, okay, fine.
I mean, as long as it has internet, Prabhuji, then it's not deep anymore.
Yeah, the time has changed actually. It's a very deep village, Tamil Nadu Kerala border. Fine, Krishna's mercy. Very good.
Is it near Coimbatore, Prabhuji?
Prabhu, it is far away from Coimbatore. It is 10 hours from Coimbatore,
Oh,
12 hours from Coimbatore. But we are in Tamil Nadu, but the capital of Thiruvananthapuram is very nearby. The capital of Kerala is very nearby. That is just 3 hours from here. Very nearby. So we have to climb the mountain and get that side. So basically, it's near to Kerala, more than Tamil Nadu. Fine. But many holy places are here. Fine. So welcome to everybody for today's session. So we shall begin and complete the chapter number 8 today. It's a small chapter. Just we have to read the questions raised by King Parikshit to Sukadev. Rajo Vacha. Brahmana Chodido Brahman Gunakyani Agunashacha. Yasmai Ada Praga Narada Deva Darshanaha. Yes, only question translation.
translation. King Parikshit inquired from Shukdev Goswami, how did Narada Muni, whose hearers are as fortunate as those instructed by Lord Brahma, explain the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is without material qualities, and before whom did he speak?
Yeah. So Prabhupada in the purport, he speaks about the qualities, the principles of the Sampradaya here. So this is known as Sampradaya. So in the Sampradaya, we hear that a discussion happens between a spiritual master and a disciple, and many important spiritual principles and details about the devotional service of the Lords are discussed. Then later on, the disciple passes the same message to his disciple. So in this way, the chain of disciplic succession continues from generation to generation. So naturally here, the question was asked. Narada Muni understood many things from his father, Lord Brahma. And Brahma also gave a very important instruction in the last section of the previous chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning with Upanikuru. I have explained to you the science of devotion service. Now please expand it and propagate it. Very important instruction given by him. So then he went on speaking 3 slokas in this record, from sloka number 51 onwards actually. Practically speaking, idam bhagavatam nama enne bhagavadodidam tuvam edat upalikru. Please expand this message of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then sloka number 52 and 53 also were spoken in this record only. So naturally here, Parikshit wanted to understand about the preaching activities done by Narada Muni. So naturally, indirectly it refers to, we all hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Srila Prabhupada, and we have to expand the limits of the disciplic succession by propagating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, expanding it. Expansion should go on. Sloka 2. Yedat vadittum ichchami tattvam tattvavidam vara harer adbhuta viryasya kada loka sumangalaha. Yes.
Yeah, I'll read because I think Mataji is not available, so I'll read.
Okay.
Translation. The king said, I wish to know narrations concerning the Lord who possesses wonderful potencies are certainly auspicious for living beings in all planets.
Yeah. So this is the first question asked by Parikshit. Please explain to me Tattvam Tattvavidamara about the Supreme Lord Hari. Surely only Hare Adbhuta Viryasya Kadaloga Sumangalaha, only the narrations about the Supreme Lord will bring auspiciousness for the living beings of all the planetary systems. Katagyasya Mahabhaha Yadaha Mahilatmani Krishna Niveshan Kshangam Manas Jakshe Kalevaram. Yeah.
Translation: O greatly fortunate Shukdev Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can place my mind upon the Supreme Lord, Supreme Soul, Lord Krishna, and being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish this body.
Yeah. So Sukadev was asked by Parikshit to narrate Srimad Bhagavatam. And Sukadev, Parikshit was a pure devotee from his birth. So naturally, he has a natural taste for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Basically speaking, he knows the particular point that hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is the ultimate solution for his problem. But in the beginning, before the arrival of Sukadev, he encountered different kinds of transcendentalists in that particular assembly on the bank of Ganges. So naturally, in a generic way, first of all, he asked many questions. What is the solution for my problem? What is the ultimate duty of everybody? What is the ultimate duty, important duty of a person who is about to die, like that, like that? So Jiva Goswami explains that externally he spoke something like a person who does not know the ultimate solution. Actually, he knows that ultimate solution is remembering Lord Sri Krishna. But later on, when Sukadev arrived there, he became so happy. He understood that Krishna has sent Sukadeva Goswami for saving himself from the clutches of death. So naturally, now he expressed his desire directly. Please speaks about the glories of the Supreme Lord, so that I will relinquish the body in a very peaceful way. Sloka 4. Yes, bro. Yes, bro. Yes, bro.
Okay, it's a very generic question in general. I mean, so
Yeah.
when we see Srimad Bhagavatam, it
Yeah.
starts by Srila Suta Goswami starting the Srimad Bhagavatam in our literature or the book that we see. So
Yeah.
Sukdev Goswami appears later in Srimad Bhagavatam. So why is it that Srimad Bhagavatam starts with Suta Goswami and not by the original speaker, Shukdev Goswami? Is there a reason for this, or it is like unknown why it happens like this?
Because we basically we hear Srimad, in one sense we can say that we hear Srimad Bhagavatam recited by Sudha Goswami, heard by Sukadeva Goswami. So heard from Sukadeva Goswami. Sudha Goswami heard Srimad Bhagavatam. No? Again it got recited by Sudha Goswami. So we hear that Srimad Bhagavatam only. But surely Sudha Goswami explains Srimad Bhagavatam, which is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami as it is. So again it is recited. So we hear that Srimad Bhagavatam.
So because in Canto 12, Prabhuji, there's a verse where Shruti Goswami says that this will be spoken in Naimisharanya by...
Correct. This particular person who is sitting here in the assembly known as Sukadev will speak Srimad Bhagavatam again. A verse again appears actually. It's a very important verse.
Okay. There's no purport there, Prabhuji.
Oh, okay. We are in sloka number 4, correct?
Yes, Prabhuji, 4, yes.
Yeah. Srinvataka Sraddhaya Nidyam Granadascha Svachashtidam Kalena Nadi Dirgena Bhagavan Vasade Hridi. Yes.
Translation: persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time.
Yeah, this is a science about, this is a scientific principle about the process of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So if we hear Srimad Bhagavatam very seriously, surely all our anarthas will get relinquished, and surely we will be established in the stage of pure Krishna consciousness. But at the same time, some requirements are needed for perfect hearing. We should hear from a perfect person, a bona fide speaker. We should hear from a bona fide speaker. The qualities of bona fide speakers had been already discussed in the, as we said, that in the first pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Sudha Goswami was selected as the leader of the assembly of Naimisaranya. We studied the different qualifications of a bona fide speaker. Surely the hearer should be very sincere also. Basically, it's a combination should be best combination. But we need qualified speakers. That's the most important thing.
Prabhuji, in our Sampradaya ISKCON, we place more emphasis on chanting the rounds first, So that is the very basic thing. So when we say that, when here we see that if we hear very attentively, then Shri Krishna manifests in our hearts within a short time. So when we read this, this includes the chanting also, right, Prabhuji? The 16 rounds that we do, that is a bare minimum that we should do, and then read or hear
Basically
it.
speaking, chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamudra, participation in Nama Sankirtanam, and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavata Sravanam, and Nama Sankirtanam. These two processes go together, well together. Both are needed. It's mutually exclusively, they are dependent on each other. We should hear Srimad Bhagavatam, we should chant the holy name of the Lord. We should chant the holy name of the Lord, simultaneously we should hear Srimad Bhagavatam also. These two goes very smoothly together actually. Even in Srimad Bhagavatam, again and again we come across many narrations about the importance of chanting of the holy name, correct? Even the final sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam itself says, Kalautat Karihirtanam, we should hear, we should do Nama Sankirtana. So these two processes plays the fundamental basic pivotal role in our Gaudiya Sampradaya. Actually, in our Sampradaya, there is no such a thing like deity worship, construction of temple at all. Later on, all these things got introduced. But our Sampradaya is basically based on two principles: chanting of the holy names, congregational chanting, and hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam. These two are the basic important principles. Deity worship got introduced later on, gradually. There is to support these two principles. They are not ultimate principles at all in our Sampradaya. They are not ultimate principles at all. And one more point is that some commentators of Srimad Bhagavatam, they explain Srimad Bhagavatam in such a way that the Srimad Bhagavatam ultimately propounds Nama Sankirtana only. Like that also many devotees have written commentaries actually. So naturally, both goes very well together, these two principles actually. Text number 5. Of course, that's a process for the age of Kali also. In Kali, how long we will maintain temples and maintain deity worship? It's not an easy thing. Only ISKCON is able to do. Other people are struggling actually. Pravishtaka karna randrena swana bhava sarorha dunodi samalam krishnaka salilasya yada sarat.
Prabhuji, can I say?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
The sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Soul, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of material association such as lust, anger, and hankering. Thus it acts like autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water.
Yeah, this sloka is commented by previous acharyas also, because this is a very good example. Because in the previous sloka, we heard that the process of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam purifies our heart. Then we get established in the original stage of our Krishna consciousness. So naturally, the power of the purification of this particular process is explained very nicely in this particular sloka. In the commentaries, Srila Prabhupada quotes the examples from the previous acharyas about the purification effect of other processes. To some extent, the process of Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda, Jnana Marga also purifies our heart, no doubt. The process of Niskama Karma Yoga surely brings our souls to the platform of material mode of goodness. Then surely we develop more purity in the process of Jnana Marga, Yoga Marga, etc., etc. But at the same time, that example is given just like sometime when we attempt to purify big reservoirs of water, like well in the village, by throwing some chemicals there. Surely it purifies well water, lake water to some extent. But at the same time, when flood comes, otherwise during the rainy season, so much water comes in the river. Naturally, the lakes get purified so much. So naturally, the purification effect of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to a flood water, and the purification effect of other processes like Karma Marka, Jnana Marka are insignificant when compared to this particular process of hearing. So naturally, the process of hearing is so much important. But surely, we should hear from empowered devotees, the real representatives like Narada Muni, Sukadeva Goswami, Lord Chaitanya, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Surely, our Bhagavatam speakers of our movement are not situated in that particular elevated platform. But surely, when compared to the preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam from outside spiritual world, spiritual congregation of Bharatavarsha, surely ISKCON devotees are more qualified to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. In the matter of purity, surely we are more qualified, because devotees follow 4 regulative principles very strictly, and they have regular sadhana program. They take only prasadam. They are always engaged in the service of the Lord, etc., etc. Surely, ISKCON devotees have more qualification in that regard. But at the same time, as far as technical qualifications are concerned, surely we have room for improvement. We have room for improvement. Many qualified speakers are there in the outside world also. They know Sanskrit better than ourselves. Not only language aspect, they may be expert in other things, like they may have studied Sangya Tattva properly, Nyaya Tattva properly, etc., etc. That are also qualifications needed for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. That we can say we lack in that section, in that area. We are not trained like that. We are not trained like that. Daudatma Purushaka Krishna Pada Moolam na Munjadi Mukta Sarva Paripeshaka Pantaka Swasaranam Yada. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I had a question about the last verse.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, so the question is, there it says that, when you hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, Krishna, by his personal endeavor, he cleanses the heart of all the anarthas, right? Like, my question is, does the process of devotional service involve, just Shravanam and Kirtanam is sufficient for everything, or does a sadhaka also have to explicitly cultivate other qualities, like the 18 items of knowledge that we talk about in Bhagavad Gita, amanitvam, adamitvam, all those things. So will they naturally manifest, or is there a need for explicit cultivation of those qualities?
It's a very good question, Prabhu. Thanks, Prabhu. In my understanding, it's my personal understanding, in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita comes to an end. But at the same time, in the stage of sadhana bhakti, we should take help from the process of jnana marga also to some extent. So that quality is explained as we said in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, are the different qualities that are to be developed in the process of jnana marga. So naturally, basically, ISKCON devotees don't endeavor for that. In my understanding, we should endeavor for that, for developing that good qualities also in this stage to some extent. But surely, once when you reach to the level of real devotion, all these qualities, they manifest automatically. Yasyasi bhaktir bhagavati akinjana sarve gunasatra samasade suraha. All that qualities get manifested automatically. But once when you reach the stage of pure devotion, these qualities gets developed in our personality based on some solid background also, on the background of, on the basis of, on the foundation of pure devotion service. That is the ultimate thing, surely. But in the beginning, we should try also to some extent. We should make effort also, because we are in the stage of sadhana devotion. Our devotion, our sadhana bhakti cannot, surely it has the power to create good qualities, but not fully, not fully.
No, because Prabhuji, then Trinadapi Sunichana Tarorapi Saisnana, if that's going to come automatically, then why?
Oh,
why would
that point, good point. Trinadapi Sunichana is intricate qualities of pure devotion. So they are mutually exclusive. Like if you have so much community, you can chant the holy name of the Lord very nicely. If you chant so much nicely, then the quality of Trinata Visunisana can be developed nicely also. So it's a mutually exclusive process. It's a mutual. That quality is the quality of pure devotion. That quality cannot be developed by Jnana Marga, Karma Marga, etc.
Okay.
That particular quality from humility. It's a unique quality of devotee. Thanks,
because in the 18 items, amanitvam, adamitvam,
that is there to some extent. It is there because basically that particular section of Bhagavad Gita speaks about jnana misra bhakti, not just jnana, not the that there is not an impersonalistic point that it does not speak like that. Some element of devotion is also there in that particular jnana marga. So that is the reason that quality is there, amanitvam. But as far as the jnana marga is concerned, they don't worry about humility at all. They don't have any idea of humility. Only the process of Vaishnavism, we speak about humility so much actually. Nobody speaks about humility like that.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah,
So,
I'll read it. Translation. A pure devotee of the Lord, whose heart has once been cleansed with the process of devotional service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey.
the same is a beautiful thing. Because only in the stage of pure devotion, the Udatma, the heart is complete. In the previous sloka, we heard about the power of purification effect in a different way. The process of pure devotion is compared to the waves of water current of newly flooded river. Correct? It has so much purification of it. Now, there's another point is explained here actually. So when you reach the stage of pure devotion, the Udatma, your heart is completely purified also. In the process of Jnana Marga and Yoga Marga, you are not fully happy. You releases some kind of mental satisfaction to some extent. Srila Prabhupada speaks about the same point in the purport. But surely, in the stage of pure devotion, your heart is completely satisfied. It gives ultimate happiness. So naturally, one releases 100% happiness only in the process of pure devotion, not in other processes at all. So naturally, Srila Prabhupada speaks about that is the reason devotees like Nityananda Prabhu, Jesus, and Prahlad, they take so much effort for imparting this process of pure devotional service to the minds of the conditioned souls. Because only this process has the power to satisfy the heart to the fullest extent. So this particular point is discussed in Uddhava Gita again, correct? As we progress in the process of devotion more and more, three results happen. Dushti, pushti, then finally happiness also, correct? First, your mental dushtihi, bushtihi, then another word I forget actually. First, you get mental satisfaction, then removal of distress happen, then finally you start releasing ecstasies also. So this happens in the process of devotion. As you eat more and more, three things happen actually. First thing is that it removes your hunger, then it nourishes the body, then finally you become happy also. So in the same way, as we releases more and more, as we advances more and more in bhakti, first this kleshagni happens, then your devotion get nourished, pushtihi, then you start releasing ecstasies also. Three results are there.
So, Prabhuji, this verse does not talk about fall downs of a pure devotee. So, can a pure devotee have a fall down, Prabhuji?
Why the points of the fall down comes, Prabhu, the purport?
Just curious, Prabhuji. I mean, can a pure devotee suffer a fall down?
Oh, you are asking. Pure devotees fall down by the will of the Lord. Because for the purpose of preaching, they have to come down. So naturally, by the will of the Lord, we should not use the word fall down. We can say that they are dragged down to the platform of materialism. Otherwise, we can say they descend to the platform of materialism by the will of the Lord. Then only preaching will happen. Because in the spiritual world, there is no activity known as preaching. There is no service known as preaching. The service of preaching is available only in the platform of material world, not in spiritual world at all. Yet adau mado brahman deharambo ashyadadabihi yet rachaya hedunava bhavando jnanade yada.
Translation. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this, for it is known to you?
The same question asked by you. So we have two kinds of groups of souls known as Nityamukta and Nityabaddha. I don't want to enter inside that whole discussion in this particular junction. It will take a lot of time. Surely, a lot of different perspectives are there, even amongst Vaishnavas in that regard. The jivas of this material world are classified in the category known as Nitya Muktas. They are always here and they are not liberated at all. They are eternally conditioned. The spiritual world, we have a group of jivas known as eternally liberated devotees of the Lord, eternal associates of the Lord. So naturally, now the question arises from where this eternally conditioned souls came. In our Sampradaya, we explained sometime that they fell down from spiritual world. But some devotees and some acharyas have the opinion they don't fall down from spiritual world also. That is a different discussion. But here the question is that, naturally it's an interesting question. The jiva is not different from the Lord qualitatively. So naturally the question is, when it came in contact with matter, when it got conditioned. So naturally the question gives rises to many questions also. Why it got conditioned? That is another question. And why it got conditioned? Then naturally the answer is, what is the process of liberation also? What is the solution for this particular problem also? So it's a big question actually. So of course we discussed this particular point in our Bhakti Sandarbha, sorry. We studied in Sandarbha, but in Bhakti Sastri we studied this particular point in many places. By the will of the Lord it happened. Because unless otherwise the Lord influences external energy, the jiva cannot get influenced by Maya at all. Then naturally the question arises, why the Lord empowered jiva, so empowered Maya Sakti to overpower jiva like that? All these questions are answered in Jiva Goswami's Tattva Sandarbha actually. He explains all this.
Yeah, I was hearing a ISKCON lecture by some Maharaj, I forgot the name, whose lecture was it, but Maharaj said that because of envy, spiritual envy in the spiritual world, the souls fall down on material world and then
that particular reason is correct because of envy. What is the word used by Jiva Goswami? He uses the word like beyond word he will use I think like Bahirmukha, something like that. They don't want to cooperate with the desire of the Lord. Yeah, they have some kind of ill feeling towards the happiness of the Lord. So as a result, they are dragged down to the material platform. But whether they came from spiritual world or whether they came from the border of the spiritual world, and that is a question of discussion. That's a question of discussion. That's a question of difference of opinion, even amongst scholars also. Because if you say that if somebody falls from spiritual world, because then Krishna says nobody fell down from spiritual world, we contradict that particular point also. So in ISKCON, generally for preaching, we say that we fell down from spiritual world, but intrinsically it has to be researched more actually.
Prabhuji, even in the Shikshashtakam, isn't it said that I fell down to this material world? Please
Which word? What word is Prabhu?
If there is one verse, right, which says that please pick me up from this material world and place me as one
that
of the
is there. That particular point is there. There is no such a word that we fell down from spiritual world. There is no such a wording, sir. There is no such a thing. There is no such a word. Surely there is nothing. There is no such a Sanskrit word at all.
Okay.
There is no such a thing at all. There is no such a thing. You cannot give pramanam at all. Evidence at all. That's what we discussed now. Then again, what is the solution? The solution is sadhana bhakti. So the sadhana bhakti, we pray to the Lord, please save me, please uplift me. That is there. That is there. Sloka 8. Asityat udarabhatmam loka samsthana lakshanam yavanayam vai purusha yatva prapak davan asa vidhi proktah samsaya vayavan iva. Yeah.
Translation: If the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem is sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entities?
Yeah. Yeah.
Haribol Prabhuji.
One minute,
So
right.
I'm looking at the 5th verse of Shikshashtakam, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddho. And the translation goes like, "O son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other, I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death." Right? Where this whole...
It does not say from where you fall down.
but when you say fall, no, where? Yeah, you're right. It doesn't say where, but it says fall down, right? I mean, it talks about a fall down.
That we accept. I am accepting that particular point. No doubt. But from where that particular point we cannot give evidence. We speak in a general way in ISKCON for the purpose of preaching. But we are Vedic scholars. We should know to give evidence actually. Whenever we speak something. Yes. So here naturally the question is asked. From the gigantic body of Mahavishnu, so actually he has a huge body, gigantic body. And first the living being of this material world. Of course, Prabhupada speaks about the beauty of the jiva. The jiva, the same jiva lives in the body of a small ant. The same jiva lives in the body of huge elephant also. So naturally, but jiva is so powerful, it maintains, it sustains the body of a small ant also. It sustains the body of a huge elephant also. It sustains the body of big, huge trees also. So naturally, it's so glorious actually. The Upanishads not only glorify the qualities of the Supreme Lord, it glorifies the qualities of jiva also, surely. Because when you glorify the qualities of jiva, surely you glorify Supreme Lord also, because the jiva is the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So first we start glorifying jiva, then finally we glorify the Supreme Lord, who is the anga. This jiva is known as angi, anga, and the Lord is known as angi, because he is the part and parcel of the particular Lord, whole. But here the question is specifically asked to understand about the quality of Lord Brahma, whether his body is whether spiritual or material, because it got generated from, it does just appeared from the transcendental body of the Supreme. Naturally, this particular question is asked. Text number 9. Ajakasrajadi Bhudani Bhudatmayat Anugraha Tadarshayena Tatrubam Nabibatma Samudbhavaha. Yeah.
Brahma, who was not born of a material source, but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord.
So naturally, now the question is asked, whether Brahma has a spiritual body or a material body. Then, so he was able to see everything. Of course, it happened by the mercy of the Lord. He was so empowered actually. So naturally, the questions were asked about Lord Brahma, whether he did that by his own effort or by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. He is also Ajaha. He is also Sarvanya to some extent. But surely there is a difference is there. his quality of Sarvanga is dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. He is not independent in that particular record at all. Sachapi yatra purusho visvasati udbhavayapyeha muktvatmaya yeah.
Roji, I had a query on in the previous verse. So Brahma has a material body, then there are two exceptions that I see here. Narada Muni and Varaha Avatar, they both are born out of Brahmaji. So they have spiritual bodies. So why is it happening like this, bro? That material body is creating a spiritual body.
It's possible. It's just a via medium, because for appearing within this material world, you need some methodology, because this material world has some system. You have to appear one of these four systems: Aja, Garbhaja, Vittaja, whatever may be. So naturally, pure devotees also follow that particular method, because like the Lord, the pure devotees cannot appear within this material world. So the Lord himself creates, he uses this particular material method for the appearance of his pure devotees also. But basically, the pure devotees appearance also happen by the via medium of internal energy only. But externally, it seems something like they use the external materialistic method actually, because there is no other way. There's no other way.
And I think everything is possible for the Lord to do anything.
Yeah. He just changes everything. He changes everything. He changes everything.
There are no rules.
Prabhuji? Prabhuji, I cannot let go of that question that I asked. When I said in Shikshashram, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I have somehow or other fallen into this ocean of birth and death. You said that the question, everyone agrees that you have fallen down, but where from is the question, right? So my question, my understanding was there are only two places. One is material world and one is spiritual world. Is there any third place that one can fall down from? That that question arises, because my understanding was
Clearly, we not worry about leave the material world. We came from spiritual world only, no doubt. But whether from my point is that whether from the group of the eternal associates of the Lord inside the spiritual kingdom, or from the boundaries of spiritual world, that is the point of discussion, nothing else. Because spirit belongs to spiritual world, not material world at all, no doubt actually.
So then everyone agrees we have fallen down from the spiritual world.
Yeah. In one sense, that particular point is correct. But from where from the spiritual world, that we will discuss more. Because if you say that devotees who are already in the link with the Supreme Lord in one of the rasa, and they are also getting affected by Maya, means it's a big discussion, Prabhu. Like that. So some devotees, they say that we came down from Brahmajyoti also, because Brahmajyoti is a part of spiritual world. Like that.
Yeah.
And that's the particular part.
Translation. Please also explain the personality of Godhead, who lies in every heart as a super soul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy.
Yeah. So this is a very important question actually. We discussed two Leelas actually, Srishti Leela and Ruchira Leela. Leela Avadaras. We studied, we read the list of Leela Avadaras. So Lord comes here by the via medium of his internal energy, and he performs many different pastimes by the via medium of his internal energy, and exhibits his Leelas to the vision of the conditioned souls also. So this is known as Ruchira Leela. All the Ruchira Leelas, pastimes of the Lord, are done by the influence of internal energy within the material realm also. But the Lord does the activity of creation. He does Srishti Leela in connection with external energy, surely. Now, again, another explanation, another surprise is raised here actually. The Lord, for the purpose of reclaiming the conditioned soul, has expanded himself. That is also one kind of incarnation, a super soul in the hearts of all the conditioned living entities. So there, he is always in touch with the material energy because he lives in the body made of material energy. He is in touch with the jiva, which is always in touch with the external energy, because only the conditioned soul is placed in the material body. But surely, though he is always in association with material energy, he is never get affected by the influence of the external energy. So it's the greatest glory of the Supreme Lord. Brahma and Shiva, they are controllers of respective material modes. They get affected sometimes, but Vishnu never gets affected at all. The super soul also never get affected. So that is a real glory. Because if it gets affected, the super soul cannot remain in a neutral position at all. That's my point, correct? Once when you get affected by, if the judges get affected by material modes, they cannot play the role of neutrality. That's one of the important quality needed for judges and super soul. Correct? So, but the Lord is never getting affected at all. That's the glory of the Lord. Sloka 11. Purushavayava irlokaha supalaha purva kalpidaha loher amushyavayavaha sa palai visusruma. Yeah.
Translation. O learned Brahmana, it was formerly explained that all the planets of the universe, with their respective governors, are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. I have also heard that the different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you please explain that?
So this particular point is explained in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the locations of the different planetary systems. Basically, he asked about the locations of different planetary systems in the Brahmanda. Yavan kalpa vikalpo va yada kalo anumiyade budabhavya bhavat shabda agyur manam chaket sadaka. Yeah.
Translation. Also, please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation, and that of other subsidiary creations, as well as nature of time indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and measurement of life of the different living beings known as the demigods, the human beings, etc., in different planets of the universe.
Yeah. So the time duration of the human bodies expands in the higher planetary systems. Devadas, demigods are also having human body only, some good quality of a human body, subtle human body. The human body made of subtle energy. So they live for long duration of time. So naturally, what is the comparative study? Sloka 13. Kalasyanu griyapyatu lakshede to brakatyavi yavatyaka karmagadayo yatrisir duvya shattama.
O purest of the Brahmanas, please also explain the cause of the different durations of time, both short and long, as well as the beginning of time following the course of action.
The what is the sloka number, Prabhu?
This is 13, Roji.
Okay, 1 minute. I came. Okay. Yeah, the workings of time within this material world is so intricate and mysterious. So naturally, he wants to know about the science and workings of the time within this material world also. Yashvin karma samavayo yada yonoba grihyade gunanam guninam chaiva parinamam apipshadam.
Translation. Then again, kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the different modes of material nature act upon the desiring living being, promoting or degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant creatures.
Yeah. So this particular point is explained in Bhagavad Gita so much. Karanam gunasangosya sattasat yoni janmasu. The jiva is transcendental to material energy. All the jivas have the same qualities of transcendence. But due to the association with the different permutations and combinations of different modes of material nature, The jiva receives different kinds of material bodies within this material world. In a generic way, in a broad way, we can say like this: if we associate with mode of goodness, we receive demigod's body. If we associate with mode of ignorance, we receive demonic bodies. If we associate with mixed modes, we receive human bodies. So surely, it's a generic definition, a generic science of transmigration. If you associate with mode of ignorance so much, we receive animal's body also. But again, within category, different kinds of human beings are there. 4 lakh varieties of human beings are there. Chaturlakshani manasaha. Different varieties of demigods are there. 33 millions of demigods are there. Different kinds of animals are there. Cows are also animals. So naturally, again, within each and every category, different proportionate mixture of different modes are there. So, so naturally, depending upon the association of the different living beings with the different mixture of modes of material nature, different material bodies are allotted for the different living beings within this material world. In the course of our Srimad Bhagavatam studies, surely we will come across the details of different kinds of human beings, different kinds of demigods, demigoddesses. Then we have the descriptions of Asuric planetary systems also there in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So naturally, Srimad Bhagavatam is a transcendental encyclopedia, surely, no doubt in that. So we will study about that. Sloka 15. Bhudapadala kagugyoma graka nakshatra bhubrga sarit samutra dvibana sambhavat chaitat okasham.
Translation: O breast of the Brahmanas, it is also described how the creation of the globes throughout the universe, the 4 directions of the heavens, the sky, the planets and the stars, the mountains, the rivers, the seas and the islands, as well as the different kinds of inhabitants takes place.
Yeah. So in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we will study about the 9 descriptions of the 9 versas, Ilavada Versa, Jambudvipa, then the names of different mountains in different versas, the names of different preceding deities of different Dvibas, etc., etc. So naturally, we will study in very detail about the universal geography explained in the pages of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Sloka 16. Pramanam anda gosasya bhagyabhyandra bedadaha mahadam chanucharidam varnasrama vinichayaha.
Translation: also please describe the inner and outer space of the universe by specific divisions, as well as the character and activities of the great souls, and also the characteristics of the different classifications of the castes and orders of social life.
Yeah. So naturally, he wanted to hear about the science of varnasrama dharma also. That was explained to some extent in Bhagavad Gita. Then in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, again, Narada Muni will speaks about the principles of Varnasrama in detail to Yudhishthira Maharaj in the assembly of Pandavas, in the assembly of Indraprastha. He will explain about the duties, responsibilities of Brahmana, king, then Sadriyas, Vaishyas, Brahmachari, Sannyasi, etc., etc. So that science is also very much important. So he wants to hear the details and the principles of Varnasrama. Yuhani yuhamanam cha dharmo yacha yuhe avadaranucharidam yat acharyadamo hareha.
Translation: please explain all the different ages in the duration of the creation and also duration of such ages. Also tell me about different activities of different incarnations of the Lord in different ages.
Yeah. So this is known as, he wants to hear about the activities of the Lord done in his different Yuga Avadaras. Previously, we studied about one sloka which speaks about Manvandra Avadara. Please speaks about the activities of the Lord done in different Manvandras. So that is known as Manvandra Avadara. So here he wants to speak here about the activities of the Lord done in different yugas. So that is known as Yuga Avadara. So naturally, we have different categories of incarnation, correct? Purusha Avadara, Guna Avadara, Leela Avadaras, Manmandra Avadaras, Yuga Avadaras, Satya Avesa Avadaras, etc., etc. So if we want to study about these principles in detail, one should read Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavadamrita. So he explains about these details so much.
Prabhuji,
Nirnam Sadharana. He speaks, of course, in that particular book, Laghu Rupa Goswami, he speaks from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam only. So he takes that particular list explained in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then he categorizes each and every incarnation explained in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Which incarnation belongs to which category. He gives a beautiful explanation. Vamana belongs to this particular category. Then Hari, who came to deliver Gajendra, belongs to this particular category. Then Sahasra Purusha incarnation, who came to deliver Durva, belongs to this particular category. Like that, he gives a categorization.
Prabhuji,
Yes. Yes.
Prabhuji, like in the first canto, the sages ask six questions, and then we see that Parikshit Maharaj also asked 2 questions to Shukadeva Goswami, and here again, Shukadeva was asking more questions. So these questions are throughout the Bhagavatam, or they just combine to.
All these things are explained throughout whole Srimad Bhagavatam. If you read Acharya's commentaries, the numbers also given. In which kind of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have answers for these particular questions. Not only particular numbers of, basically it gives the details of the different sections of the different parts of Srimad Bhagavatam in which the answers are given. Not just 1 or 2 slokas. So, most of the questions are answered in different sections. 1 or 2 questions, they are answered in 1 or 2 slokas. That's all, like that.
So these questions will appear even in Canto 3, 4, 5, and the questions are in.
From that canto itself, the answer starts. Because he will now ask about Visarga. Basically, third canto speaks about the principles of Visarga, secondary creation.
So can we see that the questions are mostly in Canto 1 and Canto 2, Prabhuji?
Yeah, naturally, because questions will be in the beginning,
Okay,
then the answers will come. That's a Vedic system. The modern system is different.
Okay, Rohit. Thank you.
Sadharano dharmaha sa visheshacha yadrishaha Srinam Rajarshinam cha dharmaha kachresha jivada.
Translation. Please also explain what may generally be the common religious affiliations of human society, as well as their specific occupational duties in religion, the classification of the social orders, as well as administrative royal orders, and the religious principles for one who may be in distress.
Yeah. So the same extension of the previous question. Please explain some of the duties and the obligations of the people of the different varnas and ashramas. Then he asked about abat karmas, abat dharma also. Dharma should be practiced during the time of emergency, correct? Like the principle of sati, self-mortification in funeral pyre. It's that kind of one dharma, traditionally, especially in Rajasthan. The Sadriya woman, they will enter inside the fire along with their own husband. So naturally, during the time of emergency, if a Brahmana does not have any food grain to eat at all, what he should do, whether he can eat meat or not in that particular time. Like that, the principles to be followed during the time of emergency is also asked. If a Brahmana boy does not have any Brahmana girl at all to get married, what he should do, how much he can break the dharma of his particular age, that like that. Tatpana parishangyana lakshanam hedu lakshanam purusharadana vidir yogashyatma mihasya.
Translation. Kindly explain all about the elementary principles of creation, the number of such elementary principles, their causes and their development, and also the process of devotional service and the method of mystic powers.
So please, again, he wants to hear about the principles of creation. He wants to hear about Sangitatva, which will explains about the different elements of material creation. Surely he wants to hear about the glory of pure Ananya Bhakti, pure devotional service. He wants to hear about Yoga Misra Bhakti also. Yoga Aisvarya Gadir Linga Banga Stu Yohina Vedopaveda Dharmana Idihasa Purana Yoho.
Translation: what are the opulences of the great mystics and what is their ultimate realization? How does the perfect mystic become detached from the subtle astral body? What is the basic knowledge of the Vedic literatures, including the branches of history and the supplementary pranas?
So he wants to hear about the principles of Yoga Misra Bhakti. He wants to hear to some extent about the principle of Yoga Marga also. But at the same time, he wants to hear about the different narrations from different Puranas, different Idihasas also. So Prabhupada, he brings a very interesting point in the purport that devotees by nature itself are mystic yogis. So Prabhupada speaks about Durvasa Muni and Ambarish, and Prabhupada speaks about Draupadi so much. Draupadi, when she was inserted in the assembly, she was not a mystic yogi, but surely, in her case, in one sense, she was able to produce unlimited amount of saris, unlimited length of sari by his own mercy perfection. So naturally, Prabhupada says that devotees by nature itself, they are yogis. Like that. Samblavaga sarva bhudana vikramaka pradisankramaha ishtapurtasya kamyana tri vargasya cha yo viddihi.
Translation: please explain unto me how the living beings are generated, how they are maintained, and how they are annihilated. Tell me also the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotional service unto the Lord. What are the Vedic rituals and injunctions of the supplementary Vedic rites, and what are the procedures of religion, economic development, and sense satisfaction?
He wants to hear about the Poshana Tattva of the Lord. So the Lord maintains both conditioned living entities and eternal liberated living entities. But surely the method of maintaining them are different. It differs to a largest extent. So basically, in the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we study about the pastimes done by the Lord in relation to his pure devotee, Prahlad. But basically, the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam speaks about the Poshana Tattva, which is one of the 10 primary subjects matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. How the Lord maintains his pure devotees in a very specific way, in a unique way, in a special way, that particular point. So he wants to hear the glories of pure devotion, surely because he himself is a pure devotee of the Lord. But at the same time, because in the assembly of Sukadeva and Parisit, they had different kinds of audience. He wants Sukadev to explain about the glory of pure devotion service in conjunction with Yoga Marga, Jnana Marga, etc. also. So that is the reason in Srimad Bhagavatam. Other things are also discussed. He will speak about, to some extent, he will speak about Jnana Marga, Karma Marga, Yoga Marga, etc., etc. Yovanusha Yanam Sargaka, Vashandasya Sambhavaka, Atmano Bandha Mokshaucha, Vyavasthanam Rupataha.
Translation: please also explain how, merged in the body of the Lord, living beings are created and how the infidels appear in the world. Also, please explain how the unconditioned living entities exist.
So, how he wants to hear Yovanusayanam Sargaka, Pandavasya Cha Sambhavaha. All how the creation happens. The creation happens at regular intervals and it is maintained for some time being. From our perspective, it's a very long duration of time. But from the perspective of Mahavishnu, it's a time of breathing. This universe is maintained. The manifestation of this particular universe happens only for a shorter duration of time, just for a breathing time of Mahavishnu. So insiders means eternally conditioned souls. This universe is created for giving the conditioned souls a chance to revive their original nature of Krishna consciousness. the eternally conditioned souls again and again fail to use that particular opportunities. So naturally, again, winding up happens, annihilation happens. What's the technical word for the annihilation? Sargaha, Visargaha, Sthanam, Poshanam, Manmandram, Nirodha. Nirodha means universal annihilation. So in the previous universal annihilation, these eternally conditioned souls again merged in the body of Mahavishnu. So how they got merged, how again they received different material bodies in the stage of secondary creation. So Maharaj Parikshit want to hear everything in detail in relation to these particular principles of Nirodha, then Visargaha, secondary creation. Sloka 23. Yadatpotandro Bhagavan Vikridadi Atmamaya Visrujyava Yada Mayam Udaste Shakshivat Ubahu.
Translation. The independent personality of Godhead enjoys his pastimes by his internal potency and at the time of annihilation gives them up to the external potency and he remains a witness to it all.
Yeah. So this is the thing. He performs his Ruchira Leela. He performs his Leela Avadaras in conjunction with his internal energy. But at the same time, when he destroys this material world, he does through the via medium of Lord Shiva by using his external energy, especially the mode of ignorance. So how he does that, how he remains in his transcendental position when this destruction Leela also happens, when the annihilation also happens. So all these different details are asked.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, these questions they sound like very Gyani questions that a Gyani will ask. They don't sound like questions that a very simple devotee can ask. Like for example, the Dukhi Sukhi, that pastime, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Dukhi, she used to just come, she used to bring, I think, water or something. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, okay, from now onwards, you'll be Sukhi. So she's a very simple devotee. I don't foresee a devotee like her asking questions like this. So, it's like, it's almost like, someone who doesn't even know ordinary math, 1 + 1 is 2. And then suddenly, you're asking questions on calculus level, integration sine theta d theta. What is that? This almost sounds like that. We are going so much into the depth. So I'm just trying to understand that if a devotee does not, if he does not know the answers to these kind of questions, or if he's not thinking at that level, what is the significance of knowing the answer to these questions or something in devotional life? That's my question.
Sukhdev asked all these questions for two purposes. One purpose is that he wants to benefit the Jnanis, Yogis, Karma Misra Yogis, Niskama Karma Yogis who were present in the particular assembly also. Because if they hear the answers for these particular questions, they will become devotees. Most of the questions asked for the benefit of the other sections of audience, the other categories of audience. In the 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked Krishna to exhibit Virat Rupa because he wanted to convert the impersonalist into personalist. So naturally, the questions are asked for the benefit of other sections of audience. But at the same time, we have two kinds of devotees. Surely, you gave the example of Sukhi, many simple devotees, like you can say here in Sri Rangam, Lord Chaitanya blessed one devotee who does not know to read Srimad Bhagavad Gita at all, correct? He was keeping Bhagavad Gita in a reverse way and he was trying to read that. So Mahaprabhu blessed him also and gave him prema also. Surely, many devotees have achieved prema even without, they may not be aware of these kind of different technical details. But at the same time, generally speaking, a devotee, what is Madhyamadihari, who is Uttamadihari? Uttamadihari means a devotee versed in the different philosophical aspects of Vedic literature, Upanishads, etc. Right? So naturally, a Uttamadhikari devotee is so much interested in understanding different kinds of principles, theories also. But from devotee's perspective, what happens ultimately? By hearing about everything, finally, we understand Krishna's glories in these particular matters. So as we hear more and more in all these different things, we understand Krishna's glories only, surely. So you should know to connect everything with Krishna's glories. You are not a dry jnani.
Thank
You
you,
are not
Prabhuji.
a dry jnani. That's why we read Srimad Bhagavatam. This argument can be, our ISKCON devotees can also bring this argument. They may say, just I will chant 24 hours. I will not come for Bhakti Vaibhava studies at all. They may come to some. No. By reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam again and again, your understanding of Krishna's glories expand more and more. Then you can chant more and more also. Sloka 24.
Prabhuji, maybe I will not understand Krishna's glories, but I will understand my insignificance because I cannot understand his glories because these are very high topics, Prabhuji.
Surely, they are all high topics. No doubt, actually. You're exactly correct. Actually, yesterday I was doing morning walking 2 days back. Some 8 kilometers I went and came back by walking. Then this particular point I was thinking. Just we hear and speak, we teach or we hear Srimad Bhagavatam for 1 or 2 hours every day. But I was thinking that that should lead myself as a teacher or even student of Bhagavatam should to a stage in which I should always meditate the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. I should not just meditate, what's a proper word in English? We should be immersed in the thoughts of the Bhagavatam. Just like I was thinking when I go for walking, I was thinking I should think about different aspects of Bhagavatam. Then I should then understood the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna in that respect. Then I should appreciate the glory of Krishna. That then means I am a devotee. That should be that is the nature of a devotee. That's the nature of the pure devotee, natural devotee. So we should come to that particular stage actually. We should come to that particular stage. We chant the holy name in the beginning for the purpose of getting liberated. But ultimately chanting means glorification of the name, form, and pastimes of the Lord, nothing else. That is real chanting. In the beginning, we chant for service, we chant to get liberated from the clutches of Maya, like that. But that's not the ultimate purpose of chanting. The ultimate purpose of chanting is natural glorification. By naturally, you feel you have to glorify the Lord. We all should come to that particular stage.
Prabhuji, one practical question on this. So, what is a simple way to glorify the Lord, Prabhuji? I mean, if I want to glorify the Lord, like 3 minutes of my time, then what should I do? I mean, apart from
first of all, you should have that realization that if you have realized the glories of the Lord, naturally you get the impetus to glorify the Lord automatically, naturally. That's a natural state. But we have not realized that's a particular point. We don't realize the glory of the Lord. That's the problem. Even in material world, no, sometimes we feel to glorify Chachal Tendulkar, Amitabh Bachchan, or Rajinikanth. Why? Because in material sense, somehow we feel that they are so great. Correct? That feeling should come. Otherwise, how you will glorify? How you will glorify? Sarvam edach bhagavan pritchado me anupurvashah tattvado arhasi udahartum prapannaya mahamune.
Translation: O great sage, representative of the Lord, kindly satisfy my inquisitiveness in all that I have inquired from you and all that I may not have inquired from you from the very beginning of my questionings. Since I am a soul surrendered unto you, please impart full knowledge in this connection.
Yeah. So the spiritual master is a transcendental representative of the Supreme Lord. He knows many things. We may ask many questions. Like ourselves, the spiritual master had hundreds of disciples. Everybody asks many questions. But the spiritual master is so powerful. He is the agent of the Supreme Lord. So he is powerful enough to answer all the questions. So naturally, he very intelligently he brings this particular question. I may not have asked many things, but the spiritual master can understand, and my disciples should understand these particular points also. That is needed for his liberation. That is needed for his spiritual advancement. So naturally, voluntarily, a spiritual master may open up some topic that a disciple has not asked at all. So the Prabhupada used to do that. He used to start speaking many subject matters which the devotees have not asked at all in the morning walking. So naturally, he says that you can understand my needs, my spiritual needs. So naturally, whatever you feel to explain, please explain to me that particular principles also. Atra pramanam hi bhavan parameshti adatma bohu apare sanudishtandi purvesham purvajaih kratam.
Translation. O great sage, you are as good as Brahma, the original living being. Others follow custom only as followed by the previous philosophical speculators.
It's a very important particular question, this sloka. So he compares himself, he compares Sukadev to Brahma. So we have Vedas are huge. They have different sections. They are compared to Kalpaka Vriksha because they can help a particular jiva in achieving the results of these 4 different kinds of paths, methods, dharmaka, arthaka, kamaka, mokshaka. So one can achieve all these kinds of goals by studying Vedas. Vedas has respective portions that will direct you, that will help you to achieve these different goals. So naturally, you have Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas, then you have Upasana Kanda portion of the Vedas. But surely, Vedanta Sudra and Upanishad portions of the Vedas are meant for the highest intellectual class of human beings who has developed Brahma Jigyashu. So the Vedanta Sudra was correctly understood by Lord Brahma in the sense that because as we discussed the first chapter, first sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord spoke Vedic knowledge to Brahma in such a way that he can understand about the Sambandha, Abhidaya, and the Prayojana Tattvas, the proper perspective. Then we can say that Dena Brahma Hridaye Adigavaye also means he not only imparted the knowledge of Vedas to Brahma, then finally he spoke the knowledge of Bhagavatam also to Brahma. Correct? The Lord gave the knowledge of Bhagavatam to Brahma in 4 slokas. Later on, Brahma expanded that knowledge of Bhagavatam and he gave that knowledge to Narada. Narada again expanded knowledge of Bhagavatam to Vyasa. Vyasa again expanded Bhagavatam. That's what we study. The Bhagavatam recited by Sukadev Goswami. So Vedas also got explained, then Bhagavatam also got explained. So what's the problem of the 6 sages, the propounders of the 6 methodologies known as Nyaya Marga, the method of what is that? Karma Mimamsa, then method of logic, then what are the 6 methods actually? Shangya Tattva, etc., etc. They studied Vedas. They were the scholars of Vedas, but they have not studied the Vedas in relation with the Sambandha, Abhidaya, Prayojana Tattva. They have not understood Bhagavatam is the ultimate conclusion of the Vedas also. So naturally, he compares Sukadeva Goswami to Brahma because Sukadeva has understood about the essence of the Vedas in the proper perspective, in the perspective of the Sampradaya, in the perspective of the Sambandha, Abhidaya, and Prayojana Tattva, in the mood of Brahma. So naturally, their mood is different. The propounders of the Saddarshanas, their mood is different. And Acharyas and Vedic scholars of the Sampradaya have a different mood. So that's a different perspective. So this is the best perspective. That perspective is partial. That perspective is incomplete. That's the whole problem. Surely they give some, they speak about some knowledge of Vedas, but it's an imperfect process. Namesabaka parayandi Brahman Anushanatami Bibadochadapi Yosam Tat Vakyabdi Vanikshridam. Yeah.
Translation: O learned Brahmana, because of my drinking nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead, which is flowing down from the ocean of your speeches, I do not feel any sort of exhaustion due to my fasting.
Yeah, really, that's happened because he was fasting for 7 days. Surely, naturally, any conditioned soul, if it receives the message of its death, it becomes fearful, but he was fearless. So he was releasing more and more happiness by hearing the topics of Bhagavatam. Sudha Uvacha. Sa Ubamandrido Raja Katayamidi Sapadeha Brahmarado Brushan Prido Vishnu Radena Samsadi. Yeah.
Translation: Suta Goswami said, thus Shukadeva Goswami, being invited by Maharaj Parikshit to speak on topics of the Lord Sri Krishna with the devotees, was very much pleased.
Yeah. So Parikshit was known as Vishnu Radha because he was directly protected by Vishnu. So Parikshit becomes so happy. Sukadeva Goswami becomes so happy by hearing about the question, by hearing this particular kind of questions from Parikshit Maharaj. Why they get pleased? Because now they get chance for glorifying about the topics of the Lord. Devotees are always interested in glorifying the Supreme Lord. So naturally, the devotee who speaks Srimad Bhagavatam only for the purpose of glorifying the Lord becomes so happy as soon as he get a chance for speaking about the glories of the Lord. Praha Bhagavatam Nama Pranam Brahma Samvidam Brahmane Bhagavat Proktam Brahmakalpa Ubahade.
Translation: He began to reply to the inquiries of Maharaj Parikshit by saying that the science of the personality of Godhead was spoken first by the Lord himself to Brahma when he was first born. Srimad Bhagavatam is a supplementary Vedic literature and it is just in pursuance of the Vedas.
Yeah, it's a supplementary Vedic literature. Vedas got explained, Karma Ganda got explained, Upanishads got explained, Brahma Sudra got explained, but finally the essence was explained in one literature known as Srimad Bhagavatam. But it was spoken in nutshell to Brahma by Lord Narayana. We will study that Chaturshloki Bhagavatam in the next chapter. But at the same time, there is not so much difference. Then Brahma spoke knowledge of Bhagavatam to Narada. Narada spoke to Vyasa. Vyasa again explained Bhagavatam to Sukadeva. Sukadeva explained Bhagavatam to Sudha Goswami. Sudha Goswami again spoke Bhagavatam in a very elaborate way. Yattat Parikshit Drishyabha Pandunam Anuprachadi Anupurvayena Tat Sarvam Akyadam Upachakrame.
Translation: He also prepared himself to reply to all that King Parikshit had inquired from him. Maharaj Parikshit was the best in the dynasty of the Pandus, and thus he was able to ask the right questions from the right person.
Yeah. So his preparation means they will meditate on Krishna, they will pray for Guru, they will pray for the mercy of Guru and Krishna, then they will start giving answers to the questions. So like that, he started speaking. So we'll give a gap of 5 minutes. Again, we will continue with our 9th chapter discussion. Because still we have 2 classes in the hand only. Next week we have 2 classes, then we have to complete. So we'll continue.
Prabhuji, we cannot hear you, Prabhuji. You're mute, Prabhuji.
Okay, fine, thank you. Sri Suga Uvacha Atmayam Rade Rajan Parashyanubhavatmanaha Na Gade Dadartha Sambandaka Saptadrushtur Ivanjasha. Translation and at least one paragraph.
Translation: Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, O King, unless one is influenced by the energy of Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaningful relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like dreamers seeing his own body working. Purport. Maharaj Parikshit's question as to how a living entity began his material life, although he is apart from the material body and mind, is perfectly answered. The spirit soul is distinct from the material conception of his life, but he is absorbed in such a material conception because of being influenced by the external energy of the Lord, called Atmaya. This is already has been explained in the first canto in connection with Vyasdeva's relation of the Supreme Lord and his external energy. The external energy is controlled by the Lord, and the living entities are controlled by the external energy, by the will of the Lord. Therefore, although the living entity is purely conscious of his in his pure state, he is subordinate to the will of the Lord in being influenced by the external energy of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 15.15, also the same thing is confirmed. The Lord is present within the heart of every living entity, and all the living entities' consciousness and forgetfulness are influenced by the Lord.
So that question can be interpreted in two ways. When the living being came in contact with material bodies, otherwise that the implicit understanding is that why? That's the implicit understanding. It's not so much important to understand about the time. Just like somebody ask our questions, ask ourselves, when you got fever. But the more important thing is they want to ask ourselves, how you got fever, why you got fever, whether you came in contact with some feverish person, like that. Be careful, like that. So naturally, here the question is answered. It's a very important question. So naturally, the answer is given here. So the living entity is pure in its original constitutional position. So how it came in contact with external energy, we studied these details in Vyasadeva Samadhi, the section known as Vyasadeva Samadhi, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Correct? So Vyasadeva, by the power of his pure devotion, he was meditating on the different aspects of this material world in pure devotion, sitting in Badrigashram. So he had the vision of the Supreme Lord, the external energy, and the workings of the external energy on conditioned souls. Then he wanted to give a solution. That is the reason he compiled all the Vedic literatures for the purpose of promoting the process of pure devotional service. So in his realization, he saw the external energy was acting in two ways. So he saw that the external energy was acting in an obedient way as a humble servant of the Supreme Lord. It was controlled by the Supreme Lord. It was under the control of the Supreme Lord. But Vyasadeva, in his vision, was able to see that the external energy was controlling all the conditioned jivas of this material world. So why it happened? The external energy to control a portion of his internal energy, Tadastha Sakti, known as Jivas. So Jiva Goswami gives the example. Right. So Jiva Goswami gives example. He explains this particular sloka of, he takes some 2-3 slokas from Vyasadeva Samadhi. Then he explains it in very detailed way in Tattva Sandarbha and Bhakti Sandarbha also. So he explains all these principles in a very detailed way. So Jiva Goswami explains that the external energy, the personification of external energy known as Maya Sakti, is an eternal, original, oldest devotee of the Supreme Lord. So when he understood a certain section of the jivas are becoming antagonist to the happiness of the Supreme Lord, she was not able to tolerate it at all. So she wants to punish them. Punish them means it's something like a punishment given is different from the punishment given by an enemy. So she wants to punish them in order to teach them some lesson. So Krishna himself cannot do that directly. Krishna also wanted his rebellious sons, conditioned souls, should change their mentality, but he himself cannot do that. So naturally, he becomes so happy when Maya was ready to do that. So naturally, he empowered Maya for doing that. So by that empowerment, Maya is able to keep ourselves under her control. She is able to punish ourselves. So naturally, the liberation will happen only if the order come by the Supreme Lord. It will not, it cannot happen in any other way at all. So if you surrender to the Supreme Lord, then the Supreme Lord will order the external energy to release his power of influence on that surrendered soul. That's what we studied in the sloka of Bhagavad Gita. Devi Hesa Gunamayi Mamamaya Dorataya. The external energy performs some other function also. It performs 2-3 functions in this material world. The jiva wants to enjoy this material world without connection with Krishna. So naturally, the external energy does the activity of creation of suitable situations, facilities for the so-called enjoyment of the external energy also. So Prabhupada gives the example of the child which wants to see the mirror. So the mirror is given in the hand of the child. It releases its beauty in the mirror, but it's not good. Surely it will break the mirror, and the broken pieces of glass will harm the body of a child. So the enjoyment of the external energy by the conditioned souls are not suitable for his original concentration position, but somehow that facilities were created because the jivas are so adamant for enjoying the external enjoyment. So naturally that facilities were given here. So at the same time, side by side, the external energy gives punishment time to time, and it wants to teach the conditioned souls about the importance of surrender also. So naturally, external energy performs 2 functions in this particular raka. Bahuruba Vabadi Maya Bahurubaya Ramamano Guneshu Ashya Mamahamidi Manyade.
Translation. The illusion living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord. While enjoying in the modes of material nature, the encaged living entity misconceives thinking in terms of I and mine.
Second paragraph, the purport.
The different positions of the living entities.
Yeah.
The different The different positions of the living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mine and I. The karmi thinks of this world as mine, and the jnani thinks I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls, is on the basis of the misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. Identification with the body and the place where the body is obtained under different conceptions of social nationalism, family affection, and so on and so forth, is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity. And the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Shukdev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
So the conditioned soul wants to enjoy this material world independent of the Supreme Lord. It happens in different stages actually. Jiva Goswami again explains these particular points to the most important verse of Srimad Bhagavatam in the section of Uddhava Gita. Vayam Dvida Vyatsyat. All the conditioned living entities in this material world is getting affected by the quality of fearfulness. So how it happens? So he explains the sequence in that particular sloka's purport, his commentary. So it is a sequence, it happens in a sequence. So he says that first the living entities become antagonists to the happiness of the Lord. Then the Maya empowered him. Then the Maya got the power to empower that particular Jiva. Then what happens? The Maya influences that particular living entity with avidya. Then because of avidya, the soul develops misidentification about its identity. Instead of thinking himself as an eternal servant of the Lord, instead of thinking himself as a product of the internal energy, it starts thinking himself as a product of external energy. He thinks I am this particular body. Dehatma buddhi. Correct? That Dehatma buddhi was explained very nicely in Bhagavatam. Yasyatma buddhi gunapetri dhaduhe. There, that particular word Atma refers to body, which are made of 3 modes of material nature. So the conditioned entity has a strong identity as a body. Then again, what happens? It wants to enjoy the body, then it gets bewildered, then it gets fear, etc., etc. Like that, it's a hierarchy is there actually. So in that hierarchy, the jiva has different identification as a demigod, as an animal, as an insect, as a bird, etc., etc. Karmis have their own identification. They think that this world is mine, so we'll enjoy it. And Jnani thinks, I am God. He has a different identification. Politicians have different identification, and then everybody has their different theories about life, perspectives about life. But surely, all these perspectives and misconceptions and misidentifications can be removed only by the association of a pure devotee. Or by the association of a pure devotee, when we start hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then gradually we realize our original constitutional position as a servant of the Supreme Lord. When we realize our original position, so naturally we give up our misidentification, proportionate to our realization. Yerhivava mahimni sve paraspin kala maya yoho ramedagata sambogas tekvo dashade tadobayam.
Translation. As soon as the living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and material energy, he at once gives up the two misconceptions of life, I and mine, and thus becomes
Yeah,
fully
first paragraph is very important. First paragraph you can read.
purport. The two misconceptions of life, namely I and mine, are verily manifested in two classes of men. In the lower state of conception of mine is very prominent, and the higher state, the misconception of I is very prominent. In the animal state of life, the misconception of mine is perceivable even in the category of cats and dogs, who fight with one another with the same misconception of mine. In the lower stage of human life, the same misconception is prominent in the shape of it is my body, it is my house, it is my family, it is my caste, it is my nation, it is my country, and so on. And in the higher stage of speculative knowledge, the same misconception of mine is transformed into I am, or it is all I am, etc. There are many classes of men comprehending the same misconception of I and mine in different colors, but the real significance of I can be realized only when one is situated in the consciousness of I am, the eternal servitor of the Lord. This is pure consciousness, and the whole Vedic literatures teach us this conception of life.
So the original sloka, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the two basic conceptions of this conditioned soul, known as I-ness and minus. The conception of I is prominent in the life of karmis. They think I am very important person. So naturally, I am the enjoyer. So this material world has to be enjoyed by myself, etc., etc. Then another beautiful misconception of the yogis, jnanis, is that mind. Everything is Brahman. I am Brahman. This material world is Brahman. Ultimately, Brahman is the absolute truth. Then we all become Brahman. So naturally, he has a different kind of misconception. Based on the identification of I-ness, the karmi wants to enjoy this material world. Based on the understanding of the theory of mindness, the jnani wants to, he didn't want to enjoy this material world, the jnani, but he wants to identify himself as the enjoyer of this material world. That's a different kind of maya. So all these different kinds of misconceptions can be removed only by entering inside the process of pure devotion. So naturally, pure devotion is compared to a sun. A sun, when it enters inside material world, it removes all the darkness. Correct? Everything got revealed. Everything gets revealed. So in the same way, when Krishna enters in our heart through the via medium of pure devotion service, then we are able to understand everything. So Mamji Bicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevade, Sagunan Samaditaitan, Brahma Bhuyaya Galpade. By entering inside the process of unalloyed devotion service, one receives all these different kinds of benedictions. Otherwise, not. Of course, the culture of knowledge can give some kind of revelation, not like the process of karma yoga. But surely the clear revelation arises in the platform of pure devotion service. Atmatattva visuddhi artham yattaha bhagavan ratam brahmane darshayan rupam avyaliha vrdatratha. Yeah.
Translation. O King, the personality of Godhead, being very much pleased with Lord Brahma because of his non-deceptive penance in Bhakti Yoga, presented his eternal and transcendental form before Brahma. And that is the objective goal for purifying the conditioned soul.
First paragraph, Prabhu.
Purport. Atma Tattva is the science of both God and the living entity. Both the Supreme Lord and the living entity are known as Atma. The Supreme Lord is called Paramatma, is called the Atma, the Brahma or the Jiva. Both the Paramatma and the Jivatma, being transcendental to the material energy, are called Atma. So Shukdev Goswami explains this verse with the aim of purifying the truth of both the Paramatma and the Jivatma. Generally, people have many wrong conceptions about both of them. The wrong conception of the Jivatma is to identify the material body with the pure soul, and the wrong conception of Paramatma is to think him on an equal level with the living entity. But both misconceptions can be removed by one stroke of Bhakti Yoga. Just as in the sunlight, both the sun and the world and everything within the sunlight are properly seen. In the darkness, one cannot see the sun, nor himself, nor the world. But in the sunlight, one can see the sun, himself, and the world around him. Srila Shukdev Goswami therefore says that for purification of both wrong conceptions, the Lord presented his eternal form before Brahmaji, being fully satisfied by Brahma's non-deceptive vow of discharging Bhakti Yoga. Except for Bhakti Yoga, any method for realization of Atma Tattva or the science of Atma will prove deceptive in the long run. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. See, in Bhagavad Gita, we studied about the different kinds of tapasya, correct? Tapasya basically refers to the process of abnegations of the demands of our senses. Our senses are always desiring some sense gratification, but we sacrifice the demands of the senses for the purpose of some achieving different goals, some spiritual goals, surely higher goals. So one can do tapasya in the mode of ignorance. One can, some people do tapasya in the mode of passion. Some people do tapasya in the mode of goodness. The jnanis, they do tapasya in the mode of goodness. To some extent, modern scientists, they also do tapasya in the mode of goodness. But surely, Brahma did tapasya in the mode of transcendental goodness. He did tapasya in the process of Bhakti Yoga. Avyaliha vrata akrataha. Atrataha, he worshipped the Supreme Lord without any duplicity. All other process has some kind of cheating tendency. So naturally, he did so much tapasya. We have so much tapasya, correct? So we have to use our brain for understanding the glories of Krishna and Jiva, not these material bodies. It's a tapasya, big tapasya for ego. Just like we discussed, why we are not able to glorify the Lord, because still our ego is not purified. Why? Because we are always interested in understanding the glories of this so-called material body. I am an Indian, I am a great person, I am this, that, and everything. Since our consciousness is immersed in that, we have difficulty in understanding the glories of the Supreme Lord. So Brahma purified his consciousness in the process of devotion. The Lord becomes so happy. So naturally, he revealed himself, his eternal beautiful form to himself. Not only he revealed his form to him, he revealed his glories to Brahma also. And that is the most important thing. One needs that kind of blessings. So that particular transcendental form purifies the audience to the fullest extent. It gives blessings also, because by seeing the form of the Lord, he will be imbued with sometime prema also. So he got that purification. Not only he got purification, he got all transcendental realizations needed for a devotee also. So he realized about his identity. He realized about the glories of the Supreme Lord. And he realized about the different theological truths in relation with the process of pure devotion service also. So Prabhupada speaks about the presence of sun. The presence of sun reveals the vision of the sun also. It reveals the vision of ourselves also. It reveals the vision of everything in and around within this material world also. So in the same way, the vision of the Lord revealed everything to Lord Brahma. It revealed his identity, the Lord's identity, and everything in relation with this material energy also. So that's the most important thing. So naturally, as I spoke, not only he gave his darshan, he imbued with him about transcendental realizations also. He spoke to him 4 important verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. The essential verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, known as Chatushloki Bhagavatam, that we will study the Chatushloki Bhagavatam in this particular chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. In this particular chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, the most important thing. So Prabhupada speaks about the misconception of 2 important people known as Dehatmavadis and Paramatmavadis. Correct? Dehatmavadi is having that misconception, I, and Paramatmavadi has the misconception, mine. So Dehatmavadi, he has the misconception, I am this particular body. So I am this particular person. I am product of external energy. So this material world is meant for my enjoyment. This is his theory. On the other hand, Paramatmavadi, he meditates on the super soul. Then we have 2 kinds of Paramatmavadis. We have yogis also. Then we have a Paramatmavadi mixed with Jnanamarga also. Yogi meditates on Paramatma for the purpose of achieving mystic perfection. On the other hand, Jnani meditates on Paramatma for the purpose of identifying himself along with Paramatma. That kind of impersonalist. He is a kind of impersonalist. So naturally, both of them has misconception. Dehatmavadi and Paramatmavadi. Devotees have different understanding, correct? Their identification is not, I am not equal to Krishna. I am a servant of Krishna. When we say we are servant of Krishna, we have that clear demarcation. We say he is the master. I am the servant. I can never become equal to him. That's our identification. I can never become equal to him. That's a basic thing. The servant never thinks that in future, I will become equal to my master. Nowadays, people may think like that, but a good servant never feels like that.
So, Prabhuji, so even if Mayavadis reach Srimad Bhagavatam, they don't get the correct understanding because they don't have the right Sambandha, Prayojan and Abhiday concept, right?
Yeah, but if they hear from pure devotees, the heart will change. That's what Sukadev did. There, in the audience, when Sukadev Bhagavatam, the audience, always we have different kinds of audience. So Sukadev gave mercy to different sections of people. He spoke Srimad Bhagavatam in such a way that they will also get benefited. Surely many impersonalists, they become devotees after hearing that Srimad Bhagavatam. If they hear from pure devotee, that will happen. Just like another perspective is there here. We are devotees of Sampradaya, but if you start hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from a Mayavadi, what will happen? We will become Mayavadis. Like in Kerala here, we have many big scholars of Bhagavatam. They know all the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Some scholars know by memory. But they are not connected with any Sampradaya. So if you hear, the recitation will be very sweet also. Because they know Sanskrit, they know the proper rhythm to sing the Bhagavatam verses. And surely they are so effulgent, so beautiful. But if you hear Bhagavatam from them, what will happen? Surely, but they have the idea of impersonalism. They don't have a, surely we can say that they don't know Krishna is God. They don't know. I study Sanskrit in Mainapur Madras Sanskrit College. There also I was surprised to see that in their curriculum they have, like I study diploma course in Sanskrit. It's equal to BA Sanskrit. So they have one subject, recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. It seems that a group of people, they come twice in a week and they recite Bhagavatam in proper rhythm, whatever may be. But surely I am able to understand their perspective is impersonalism, no doubt. But they know more Bahana verses than ourselves, no doubt. So if we hear from them, we will also become Mayavadis. That's the thing. Very dangerous. Sa Adidevo Jagadam Paro Guruhu Svastishniyam Astaya Sasakshayaksharaha Tam Nadya Kachat Drishamatma Sammadam Prapanja Nirmana Bidiryaya Babet.
Translation. Lord Brahma, the first spiritual master, supreme in the universe, could not trace out the source of his lotus seat. And while thinking of creating the material world, he could not understand the proper direction for such creative work, nor could he find out the process for such creation. Was you purport or?
So here, only one paragraph you can read also.
Purport. This verse is the prelude for explaining the transcendental nature of the form and the abode of the Lord. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it has already been said that the Supreme Absolute Truth exists in his own abode without any touch of the deluding energy. Therefore, the kingdom of God is not a myth, but factually a different and transcendental sphere of planets known as the Vakunthas. This will also be explained in this chapter.
Yeah. So here the new section begins actually. It's something like the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The first chapter of Bhagavad Gita explains the situation and the place where Bhagavad Gita got recited. So Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken in 4 verses to Lord Brahma. That's the ultimate blessings because it transmits the real realizations to Lord Brahma. So Krishna gave that blessings to him in the form of beautiful realizations. He explained Bhagavatam in 4 verses. So now this particular section explained why it got explained, when it got explained, why it got explained to Lord Brahma. So Brahma, in the beginning of his birth, in the beginning of his creation, naturally he wanted to understand about the source of his creation. Suddenly he was able to see himself sitting on the seat, and he had the inspiration to create this material world. But he wanted to understand about his identity. It is natural. He wanted to know about himself, who he is, from where he came, who is the source of his creation, and what is his purpose of, what is the purpose of his birth, what is his duty in relation with this material world, how he should do that, what is this great material energy. So he wanted to understand about that. So in the beginning, he wanted to understand everything by his own effort, maybe physical effort and mental effort. By like we see mental effort by the scientists nowadays to understand about the mysteries of creation. Then we will see here. Then he made an effort. He got baffled, but when he surrendered to the Supreme Lord, tapaha, in the principles of devotion, then the Lord revealed about himself. Sloka 6. Shachindayandivi aksharam eka ambashi, ekadambashi, ubashno divirgadidam acho ubahu, sparsheshi et sodasam ekavimsham, nishkinjanana nirvayadanam viduhu.
Translation. While thus engaged in thinking in the water, Brahmaji heard twice from nearby 2 syllables joined together. One of the syllables was taken from the 16th and the other from the 21st of the Sparsha alphabets, and both joined to become the wealth of the renounced order of life.
Yeah, this I will explain. So naturally in Sanskrit we have Suraksharas, then we have Vyanjanaksharas, then we have Vangirium Aksharas, then we have Anushwara, then we have like that. We have different kinds of letters. So naturally, Tapaha, it came by connecting the Prabhupada here says, the original sloka itself says, one of the syllables from 16th and one from 21st of the Sparsha letters, Kavarga, Shavarga, we have Tavarga, we have Tavarga, we have Pavarga, like that. So this sloka, the word Ta, then the letter Pa, they got connected. And then the word Tabaha came from unembodied living being. Akashavani, it came through Akashavani. So this particular point we discussed. I have to do tapasya, but as we discussed already, tapasya can be done in the mode of ignorance also. Tapasya can be done in the mode of passion also. Tapasya can be done in the platform of goodness also. People who commit suicide, they commit tapasya in the platform of mode of ignorance, correct? Karmis, they do tapasya in the mode of rajas. And scientists, and especially yogis, jnanis, they do tapasya in the mode of platform of goodness. Brahmanas, they do tapasya in the mode of goodness. Devotees, they perform tapasya in the mode of transcendental goodness. We have tapasya. We have to get up for Mangalarati, we have to fast on Ekadasi days. We have to do the tapasya of understanding Bhagavatam. We have to study Bhakti Vaibhava. We have to try to understand the questions and the answers. So he did tapasya in the mode of goodness, in the process of devotion. Then the Lord blessed him. And then he saw the darshan of the Lord. He started singing Brahma Samhita, one of the important Vedic literature. So here I want to just supply to the important informations. So we have the biggest temple of the whole world, now the present world, known as Angkor and Srirangam we have. So Srirangam is the temple where the process is going on, the devotion is going on as per the devotees of Ramanuja Sampradaya. So that particular deity is said to be the first deity of this material world, because during this particular time of prayer by Lord Brahma, when he started singing Brahma Samhita, then this particular deity came. So he sang Brahma Samhita on this particular deity. So this deity was worshipped by Lord Brahma in Brahmaloka for a long duration of time. Later on, Brahma gave this in charge of deity worship to Swayambhu Manu. Swayambhu Manu again worshipped this particular deity in higher planetary systems. Swayambhu Manu donated this particular deity to the king of Ayodhya, Rahu. So Rahu was worshipping this particular deity in Ayodhya for a long duration of time. Then later on, Lord Rama donated this deity to Vishnu, the king of Sri Lanka. So naturally, after Ramayana, Vishnu got donated this deity by Lord Rama. He was carrying this particular deity to Sri Lanka. Then for giving answer to the nature calls, he sat on the bank of Kaveri river here in Dravida Desa. He did his morning ablutions and everything. But the deity didn't want to move from that particular place at all. So now we have a biggest deity of the biggest temple of the whole world, known as Sri Ranganatha temple here in Sri Rangam in Tamil Nadu. Then later on, Mahaprabhu came here. Then he found Brahma Samhita also. Correct? Just not far away from here. From here, some 1.5 hours from my home here. So we have the Adikeshava temple. So in Adikeshava temple in Tiruvattar, another big Vishnu temple here in the border of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found Brahma Samhita, because this particular temple played the role of Vedic library for Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva, sometimes he used to reside in Himalayas. Sometimes he used to come here to keep all his manuscripts. It is said like that. The Sthala Purana says like that. So he found Brahma Samhita here. So Prabhupada speaks about Brahma Samhita here in this particular verse. So naturally he speaks about our disciplic succession also. Nisamya tatvakta didarkshayadisho vilokya tatranayat apashyamanaha swadishniyam astaya umrishyata didam tapasti ubadishta ivadade manaha.
Translation: When we heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides. But when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly and give his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed.
Yeah. So in the beginning, Brahma also was attached. So he made his effort depended on Karma Handa, Jnana Handa also. In the process of Jnana Marga, we try to understand about the absolute truth, basic principle are based on the Upanishad Vakya. We want to realize about the glories of the Lord, Brahman, by understanding Upanishad Vakya, the sentences of Upanishad Vakyani in Sanskrit. But he was not so much successful. He was not able to understand what is the source, how he took birth, what is the purpose of his birth, what is the purpose of his creation, he never understood. So later on, when he did tapasya in the process of pure devotion, maybe he may have meditated on the form of the Supreme Lord, or he may have started chanting the name of the Lord. We don't know the exact details, but in the process of pure devotion, maybe he must have developed the mood of devotion. So he may have worshipped the Lord in the mood of devotion. Then the Lord revealed himself, to Brahma. That's a beautiful description. In the next class, we will study. We'll study one sloka, then we'll stop. Divyam sahasrabdam amoga darshano jidanilatma vijudo vayendriya atapyatra samahila lokataba tabanam tabastabiyam tabatam samahidaha. Yeah.
Translation. Lord Brahma underwent penances for 1000 years by the calculation of the demigods. He heard this transcendental vibration from the sky and he accepted it as divine. Thus, he controlled his mind and senses, and the penances he executed were a great lesson for the living entities. Thus, he is known as the greatest of all ascetics.
So when he started doing tapasya, further directions came from the Lord in unembodied voice, Agasavani. So he performed more tapasya. He did sadhana bhakti for the time duration of 1000 years of demigods. We are already bored by doing some 4-5 years of doing tapasya, sadhana bhakti, getting a Paramalarti chanting. We think when we will see the Lord, when I will understand Bhagavatam fully, it goes on like anything. It's a very tedious process, we think. But he did tapasya in the stage of sadhana bhakti for thousands of years. For thousands of years, he got up for Mangalarati, he got initiation, he served the Lord, he did book distribution, he attended Bhakti Vaibhava classes, etc., etc., etc. He chanted his rounds. Then, from next class, we will study. Beautiful description. The Lord revealed himself. He revealed his kingdom also. So he revealed about the activities of his eternal associates. He shaked his hand in British style to Brahma, not following Indian style. Then amazing, he was shaking the hand. Then he spoke the 4 verses of Bhagavatam. Then he blessed him also, because Brahma was so fearful. He told that when I do creation, I will be always in touch with the material energy. It's so dangerous. I may get affected by Maya. But he blessed him. No, you are studying Bhagavatam, you are hearing Bhagavatam. So you will not get affected by your preaching activities at all. We go for book distribution. We mingle with common people. We always stay in public roads. But if you do book distribution, by the blessings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we will not get affected at all by the blessings of Prabhupada. Like that, he blessed him also. So that beautiful pastimes we will hear in the next class. Thank you very much.
Prabhuji, one question regarding the deity in Srirangam. So the deity is standing form or in the lying?
No, it's a lying form. It's a lying form. But again, there is a difference. It's a lying form. Generally, the deities of South India, which are lying form, they have 4 hands. Some have many hands also. But this particular deity, even though it's lying, it has only 2 hands only. So that's the reason Prabhupada said it is Krishna, it is not Vishnu. In one letter, Prabhupada speaks about that. He says, Ranganath is Krishna, Ranganath is not Vishnu, because he has only 2 hands.
Exactly.
The Sri Vaishnavas, Prabhu, the Sri Vaishnavas also, but accept that particular point. They say that this particular deity always, because when they do worship, they say that in his mouth, we always, when we go near his mouth, we always smell the smell of a butter. Vishnu is not found of butter, only Krishna is found of butter. Then in the deity, when they remove the cloth, always they can see that Damodara Leela pastimes, that impressions of the rope tied by Yashoda. So they say, naturally, this is Krishna, not Vishnu. They also accept that particular point.
And Prabhuji, what is the size of the deity? Like, how big is the deity?
It's a huge deity. Most of this deity, and especially if you come and see the deity of Vishnu in Tiruvattar, where Mahaprabhu found this Brahma Samhita, so beautiful. There you can see this particular pastimes. Then you can see Brahma appearing from the navel of Lord Vishnu. Then Brahma will be in the sky, beautiful big deity of Brahma. There you have 3 doors for seeing the Lord's 3 different portions. So you have 3 doors for deity room. So then there are gaps are there between the 3 doors also. So first, through the first door, you can see the face portion of the Lord. Through the second door, when you go, you have to see the middle portion of the Lord. Then through the third door, you have to see the feet portion of the Lord. So naturally, the deity room itself is something like a small ISKCON temple room, the size of a small ISKCON temple room. The deity room itself is so huge, actually. Because the deities are so huge, actually.
Guruji, all devotees can have the 3 gates darshan, or they can just choose one?
And they can see all that when they open all the 3 doors. Especially in Thiruvananthapuram, in Thiruvattar, then in Srirangam. These 3 deities are very huge deities. Very huge deities. You got to in Srirangam, you got to see through 1 door only, but a huge door. In Thiruvananthapuram, 3 doors you got to see.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Slapobha.
Jai.